Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater Soundcheck. This time out, we're going to record an actual session using the brand new Apogee Element 46 audio interface. I was very curious about this interface because it has no front panel controls whatsoever. Everything is handled via software, and I wanted to see how that actually worked in a session. So I'm bringing in Don Carr on acoustic guitar and Nick DiVirgilio on cajon, and we're going to record some tracks. Now, since there are no front panel controls, we have to do everything from the computer, and I'm finding this works really well. You can configure the app so that it shows exactly what you need when you're doing your actual process, whether you're recording, whether you're mixing, whatever you might be doing. You have your choice. You can work either in what's called the primary window, which allows you to see a wide range of different things, or you can work in what's called the essential window, which can sit alongside your DAW window and give you just the controls you need for controlling the microphone preamps and your headphone and monitor outputs. The primary window is this large one here in the center. We can configure this however we like. So for example, we can turn the system settings on and off. We can hide those if we choose. System settings are things like master device, the clock settings, the sample rates, those types of things. We can choose to hide those. We can also look at the device settings, which are how our main outputs are configured, either line or speaker level, the operating level for those outputs, either -10 or +4, and so on. So we can hide those if we don't need those. Now we have our choice of how we view the mixers as well. Across the top here is where we see our metering, and we can also see that we're set up here with 3 microphone level inputs and 1 +4 line level input. We can select the level for each of the inputs here, -10, microphone or instrument, so I'll set that back to microphone, so we have 4 different microphone level inputs. We have 48 volt phantom power, grouping for inputs, stereo linking, and then we also have polarity reverse for each input. At the lower part of our screen, we have access to 3 latency-free mixers, and we can choose which of those we see, and we can route them however we like. So for example, I can choose to hide mixer 3 if I'm not using that. In this case, over here on the right-hand side of the screen, I've got headphone 2 configured to be mix 1, so I'm controlling that down here. For our main outputs, configured to be mix 2, which I'm controlling here in the center. Now if I set this back to mix 1, I could choose to hide mixer 2, and really shrink down what I'm viewing here. It makes my window much smaller. I've got headphone 1, so we can choose what we're feeding there, whether playback from the computer. We have 10 channels of playback from the computer. That'd be from your DAW tracks you've already recorded that you're overdubbing on top of. Now once you have things set, you may not need to have all this control in one place. You can in fact hide this window and just use the Essentials view, which is this one here. This shows us each of the 4 inputs. And again, we can set what we're feeding there, different line level, instrument or mic level. We have control over gain. We can also turn 48 volt phantom power on and off, and etc. Down here at the bottom, we have our 2 headphone outputs and our main output. And again, we can select what's feeding those. So we could choose playback from the computer here, and we have control over our monitor levels here. Now this is very nice because when we open our DAW up, we still have access to those controls. So I'm using Studio One. We'll go ahead and pop that open here. I can set that up so it sits right beside my Essentials window. Now I can be tracking in Studio One, yet still have control over the microphone preamps, as well as my headphone and main monitor outputs. I'm finding this is very handy, but let's take a look at how it works when we actually have musicians in the studio with us. As I've been using the Element audio interface, I'm finding that it's very convenient. You could actually set this under the table. It could be in with your musicians. However long your Thunderbolt cable is, you could set it that far away from your computer. I like to hide it out of the way since you really don't have to look at it. You can control everything from your computer, and I'm finding that's a very convenient way to work. I don't miss having the hardware control at all. You can also control the Element using an iOS device or an Android device. There's an app that loads on, and it gives you all the same features as you have inside your computer. So you can control levels, phantom power on and off, you can stereo link tracks, you can set up your headphone and your speaker mixes, so everything is controllable from right here inside the app. This is great if you have your computer set up in one room, your musicians are in another, and you want to be in there with the musicians adjusting gain levels, changing things inside the app as far as headphone mixes and things go, without having to run back and forth to your computer. A very handy option. And of course, the best thing about the Apogee Element audio interfaces is they sound absolutely wonderful. They have all that top tour conversion, the great sounding microphone preamps, great sounding headphone outs and line outs. Really is a nice sounding box that's very convenient, easy to use. I've really been enjoying working with it. Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater Soundcheck. I'm Mitch Gallagher.